You ever had a moment where someone says something so outrageous, so blisteringly arrogant, that you wonder if you've slipped into an alternate universe? Yeah, that was me, standing in my fiancée's mother's pastel-colored kitchen, staring at a woman who smelled faintly of lavender and Chardonnay, as she dropped a bomb like it was casual Sunday gossip. "Don't overreact," she said, stirring her tea as if we were discussing the weather. It was just a drunk one-night stand at the bachelorette party. It meant nothing. Every girl should go crazy one last time before marriage. If you dare to cancel the wedding over this, we'll sue you for the money I spent on it. I'll bankrupt you. I blinked at her, wondering if I'd misheard. Maybe she said banquet instead of bankrupt. Nope. She repeated it, word for word, with that serene menace only women like her can muster, a tone so sweet it could rot your teeth, dripping with venom underneath. Meanwhile, my fiancée, Samantha, or Sam, as I once fondly called her, stood in the corner, arms crossed, her face blotchy from crying. Not from guilt, mind you, but from the sheer inconvenience of being caught. Her sorry had all the sincerity of a politician's campaign promise. She couldn't even look me in the eye, which was funny, because she sure managed to make eye contact with him that night in Vegas. And here I was, absorbing all this in silence while my future mother-in-law, let's call her Patricia, because that's her name and it fits like a villain in a soap opera, laid down her terms like a mob boss. "Do you understand, Nathan?" she cooed, her lacquered nails tapping the porcelain cup. "You've invested too much to back out now. Everyone would talk. It would be humiliating for you. But if you go through with it, no one has to know. We keep the family's dignity intact. You keep your bride, and life goes on." Humiliating for me? The irony almost made me laugh. Almost. I looked at Patricia, her diamond necklace glinting in the sunlight, the smug curve of her lips, and something inside me clicked. Not the breaking kind, more like the loading of a spring. A calm, icy clarity swept through me like a tide. I realized two things in that moment. This wedding was dead in the water. I wasn't going to slink away quietly like some jilted puppy. I smiled. A slow, measured smile that seemed to confuse her. "Okay," I said softly. "I won't cancel the wedding." Patricia's eyes flickered with triumph. Sam sniffled, thinking maybe the storm had passed. Poor souls. They mistook my calm for surrender, when in fact it was the prelude to a symphony of chaos they couldn't even imagine. Because while they were busy counting on my silence, I was already writing the opening act of their nightmare. You ever stare at a phone screen so long that the glow starts to feel like it's burning through your skull? That was me, 1 hour after my charming conversation with Patricia. I was in my car, parked in front of our house, scrolling through Sam's iPad like a detective in a bad cop drama. Why? Because gut instinct told me that if someone casually justifies infidelity as a pre-wedding tradition, they probably have an entire belief system to back it up. And boy, was I right. The group chat was called Bride Tribe After Dark, a name that should have been my first red flag months ago. Inside, a buffet of bad decisions. I scrolled past memes, bridal shower selfies, and then, boom, there it was. Kelsey. OMG, Sam. Can't believe you actually did it. Sam. LOL, shut up. It was Vegas. What happens there stays there. Jessica. Girl, not when you're about to marry someone. You're wild. Sam. One last night of freedom before life with Mr. Predictable. Don't judge. Mr. Predictable. That'd be me, apparently. The guy paying for half the wedding, the honeymoon in Santorini, and, let's not forget, the house down payment. Predictable? Sure. Except for the part where I was about to orchestrate the grandest twist of their lives. But wait, there's more. Kelsey again. What about the other guy? Eyes. Other guy? My thumb froze mid-scroll. Sam, relax. That was months ago. Before Nathan and I set the date. My pulse thudded in my ears. Other guy? Months ago. Before the date, but after the proposal? I dug deeper, scrolling up like a man possessed. Screenshots of selfies. A shirtless dude flexing in what looked like a gym bathroom. Sam captioned it with Miss Leg Day. I'll forgive you, winking face. The timestamps told a story. They'd been chatting well into our engagement. So much for it was just a mistake. This wasn't a slip-up. This was a lifestyle. I set the iPad down and stared out the windshield at our house. Our perfectly curated suburban dream with its white shutters and the porch swing Sam just had to have from Pinterest. It looked peaceful, like something out of a magazine. Inside, though, it was a crime scene of shattered trust. I thought about storming in, confronting her, unleashing the fury building in my chest. But then Patricia's words echoed, "Don't overreact. Don't cancel the wedding. We'll bankrupt you." That last part rolled around in my head like a marble in a tin can. She thought I'd break. She thought fear of financial ruin would chain me in place. And that's when it hit me, the clarity that feels like cold steel. I wasn't going to just walk away. Oh no, I was going to walk away in a way that would make headlines if weddings made the news. I wanted impact. A scene so explosive it would replay in their heads for the rest of their lives. So I waited. For 2 weeks, I played the role of the devoted groom. Cake tastings, last-minute floral arrangements, even a goofy Instagram post of us at the tux fitting. She looked at me with those wide, guilty eyes sometimes, probably wondering why I hadn't burned everything down yet. Little did she know, I wasn't building a fire, I was laying dynamite. The night before the wedding, Patricia called me. "Just making sure you're not having cold feet," she purred. "Oh, I'm all in," I said, staring at the carefully packed bag in my trunk. "You have no idea. If weddings are supposed to be about love, laughter, and champagne, our rehearsal dinner felt more like a hostage negotiation. Except only one person knew the ransom was coming due. Spoiler alert, that person was me. The venue was perfect, at least on the surface. String lights crisscrossed the ceiling of an upscale Italian restaurant, casting everything in a warm, golden glow. Laughter and clinking glasses filled the air, but underneath it all, I could feel the tension thrumming like a low-frequency hum. Maybe it was just me projecting, or maybe the universe was foreshadowing. Sam looked radiant in a white silk dress that probably cost as much as my first car. She was holding court at the center table, laughing too loudly, squeezing my hand a little too tight every time someone mentioned forever. I watched her, and all I could think was how surreal it felt to sit beside someone you know you'll never kiss again, and they don't even know it yet. Then came Patricia, sweeping into the restaurant like a royal matriarch in a navy blue power suit, pearls gleaming like tiny trophies around her neck. She hugged Sam, air-kissed her other daughter, and then gave me that saccharine smile that could probably rot granite. "Nathan, darling," she said, patting my cheek like I was a Labrador who'd just learned a new trick. "We are so thrilled to welcome you into the family." Thrilled. Yeah, thrilled like a cat thrilled to find a mouse stuck in a trap. I smiled back, warm and gracious, because tonight, my smile was my weapon. Halfway through dinner, during Patricia's toast, I noticed something interesting. Every time someone mentioned commitment or fidelity, Sam's shoulders twitched ever so slightly. Micro flinches, the kind guilt buries deep but can't fully disguise. I filed that away for later, like a detective stacking evidence in neat little piles. Then, the spark. Dessert was being served, a decadent tiramisu that probably had its own Instagram account, when Kelsey, one of Sam's bridesmaids and a founding member of the now infamous Bride Tribe After Dark chat, decided to liven things up. "Let's play a game," she squealed, clinking her Prosecco glass. "How about the wildest thing you've done before settling down?" I swear the universe handed me that moment on a silver platter. The table erupted in laughter and groans. Someone joked about skydiving. Another mentioned skinny dipping in college. Then, all eyes turned to Sam. "Well," Kelsey prodded, her grin sharp enough to slice bread. "Got any pre-wedding confessions?" Sam froze, her spoon suspended midair. A flush crept up her neck, blooming across her cheeks. Nothing worth sharing," she said, forcing a laugh that sounded like a car trying to start on a dead battery. "Oh, come on," Jessica chimed in. "Vegas trip ring a bell?" The color drained from Sam's face so fast I thought she might faint. Patricia's eyes snapped to Jessica like a hawk spotting prey. "Enough," she said in a tone that could have frozen lava. The table fell awkwardly silent for a beat too long. I leaned back in my chair, swirling the last of my wine, savoring the quiet implosion like a fine vintage. Then I decided to throw in a little accelerant. "Vegas," I said lightly, raising an eyebrow. "Sounds like a story." Sam laughed again, too high, too brittle. "Just a silly night out. Nothing happened." "Oh," I said, tilting my head. "Good to know." And then I smiled. A slow, knowing smile that made her flinch like I had reached across the table and slapped her. That was the first crack in her composure. Tiny, but satisfying. Dessert ended. Conversations limped along. But the energy had shifted. Sam barely touched her tiramisu. Patricia whispered furiously to Jessica by the bar. And me? I paid the bill without blinking because money was about to become the least valuable currency in this equation. When we left the restaurant, Sam grabbed my arm, nails digging into my sleeve. "What was that?" she hissed as we walked to the car. "What was what?" I said, unlocking the door with the calm of a man who'd already burned the bridge behind him. She stared at me like she was trying to read a language she didn't speak. "You're different." I smiled again, that same slow curl of lips that said everything and nothing at once. "You'll see," I murmured, opening her door. And as I drove us home, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from an unknown number. "The playlist is ready. Confirming delivery for tomorrow morning." Oh, I confirmed all right. You ever get chills listening to a song? Not because it's good, but because it's about to detonate your entire life? That was me at 1 a.m. the night before the wedding, sitting in my car in a 24-hour parking lot, double-checking the playlist I'd curated with the precision of a surgeon and the malice of a Bond villain. Each track was a carefully chosen confession, Sam's confession, to be exact. Thanks to her Bride Tribe After Dark group chat, I had screenshots of every smug, drunken message about her bachelorette escapades. But why just show them when you can perform them? That's where my genius, and maybe a little madness, kicked in. Step 1. I converted those texts into audio using a text-to-speech program with a sweet, cheerful female voice that sounded just like a bridesmaid reading from a diary. Step 2. I layered the recordings over soft acoustic guitar tracks, like love songs, but with lyrics straight from hell. Step 3. I burned them all onto a USB drive labeled Reception Playlist. By the time I finished, my revenge wasn't just a plan. It was a soundtrack. The wedding day dawned bright and perfect because, of course, the universe loves irony. Guests flooded into the venue, a rustic barn dripping with fairy lights and overpriced floral arrangements. Sam looked like a dream in white lace, every inch the blushing bride. If you didn't know better, you'd think she was an angel. Me? I was the devil in a tailored suit, smiling like a man about to give a toast they'd never forget. Patricia hovered like a general inspecting her troops, adjusting centerpieces, barking at caterers, casting sharp little glances at me. She probably still thought her threat had worked. That fear of financial ruin had kept me in line. Bless her delusional little heart. We breezed through the ceremony. I said my vows with a calm so deep it should have worried her. We kissed for the cameras, walked down the aisle hand in hand, and posed for photos that will probably haunt Sam forever once she realizes what's coming. And then, the reception. The barn glowed under amber lights as the DJ queued up the playlist I'd approved. Guests clapped and cheered as Sam and I made our grand entrance. The perfect couple on the perfect day. First dance. Flawless. Dinner. Delicious. Toasts. Predictable. Until it was my turn. I stood, microphone in hand, smiling at a sea of faces, every camera phone pointed at me. Sam's eyes softened, thinking this was the moment I'd melt hearts with a sentimental speech. Patricia dabbed her eyes preemptively, ready for Instagram gold. First, I began, voice steady. Thank you all for being here to celebrate what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. And in a way, it still is, because today, I learned the truth about love. Real love is about honesty, trust, and knowing when to let go. A ripple of confusion swept the room. Sam's smile faltered. I wanted to do something special for Sam. I continued, gesturing to the DJ booth. Something memorable. So, I made this playlist, our love story in songs. Enjoy. I gave a little nod. The first track began. It sounded sweet at first, gentle guitar, soft melody. Then the voice kicked in, bright, chipper, and unmistakably robotic. OMG, can't believe you actually did it. LOL, shut up, it was Vegas. What happens there stays there. One last night of freedom before life with Mr. Predictable. Don't judge. The words floated over the speakers like confetti dipped in acid. The crowd tittered nervously. Sam went rigid, color draining from her face. Patricia's head whipped toward the DJ like she could vaporize him on sight. But it was too late. The second verse was already rolling. What about the other guy? Eyes. Relax, that was months ago. Before Nathan and I set the date. Gasps erupted like popcorn in a hot pan. People turned in their seats, murmuring. Sam stumbled forward, grabbing my arm, her nails digging into my sleeve like talons. Turn it off, she hissed, voice breaking. Oh, sweetheart, I whispered into the mic, making sure everyone heard. We're just getting to the good part. Track 2 hit harder. This one was vivid. Her bragging about what the stripper in Vegas could do with his abs. Her laughing about how boring I was compared to real men. Each line a dagger, and I twisted every one. By track 3, Sam was sobbing. Patricia was on her feet, shrieking at the DJ, who threw up his hands like lady. I just pressed buttons. Guests were whispering, filming, posting. This wasn't just a wedding anymore. This was a live-streamed apocalypse. Finally, I held up a hand. Okay, I said, feigning mercy. That's enough music. But before we wrapped this up, I reached into my pocket, pulled out the ring, and let it glint in the light. Then, with all the calm in the world, I tossed it onto the dance floor like trash. You wanted a show? I said, my voice cutting through the stunned silence. Here it is. Congratulations, Sam. You got your last night of freedom. And this, I gestured to the chaos around us, is mine. And then I walked out, past the gaping mouths, past Patricia's ashen face, past Sam, crumpled on the floor in a heap of lace and mascara, out into the night, free, with the sound of her sobs echoing behind me like the sweetest melody I've ever heard. If you think I walked out of that barn and just drove off into the sunset like some heartbroken hero, think again. Heroes forgive. I wasn't in the forgiving business anymore. I was in the business of closure, the kind that slams doors so hard the whole neighborhood hears it. The night air hit me like freedom as I strode across the gravel lot. Behind me, chaos bloomed like wildfire. Shouting, sobbing, the muffled thud of someone, probably Patricia, trying to wrestle the DJ's laptop away. Guests stood around in stunned clusters, half horrified, half trying to figure out how to caption this disaster on Instagram. I walked past them all, head high, calm as a man who just detonated a nuclear bomb and didn't even flinch at the flash. But here's the thing, my plan wasn't over. The playlist? That was just Act 1. See, in the 2 weeks leading up to the wedding, while Sam was picking out calligraphy for place cards and Patricia was bullying florists, I was busy having some conversations. Lawyers, accountants, a certain wedding photographer who owed me a favor after I saved his business from a tax audit last year. And then there was the email I drafted to Patricia's country club committee, complete with attachments. But we'll get to that. For now, Act 2 started with a key in my pocket. A key Sam didn't know I'd had copied when she left her apartment spare lying around like a drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. By the time I reached my car, my phone was vibrating like a beehive. Missed calls, 17. Texts, too many to count. Sam, Patricia, even her father, who, up until yesterday, treated me like a convenient ATM. I ignored them all. Instead, I pulled onto the highway, heart pounding not from regret, but from anticipation. An hour later, I was standing in the middle of our shared condo, the one with the mortgage I'd been paying while Sam spent nights working late, testing the structural integrity of other men's bed frames. The place was spotless, like a magazine spread. Photos of us smiling in frames. Her dress, shoes lined up like soldiers. A scented candle flickered on the counter with a smug little label that read, "Happily Ever After." I almost laughed. Then I got to work. First, I opened the laptop on the kitchen island. Earlier that week, I'd synced her iCloud account to my own. Every picture, every video from that Vegas trip, downloaded, backed up, and now sitting in a neat little folder labeled Memories. I uploaded the folder to a cloud drive and scheduled an email blast to her entire bride tribe after dark group, plus her dad, her aunt who called me boring, and for extra spice, her boss. Subject line: here's what loyalty looks like. Delivery time, 10 a.m., tomorrow. Next, I called the movers. Yep, I'd booked them in advance. Everything goes, I said. Except her stuff? That stays. If she wanted the condo, she could keep it, with 4 bare walls echoing like her vows. Then came the piece de resistance. I opened the fireproof lockbox from the closet and pulled out the papers. The prenup Patricia swore I'd never agree to, the joint accounts I'd quietly drained into my separate savings, and the title for my truck, paid off in full because, unlike Sam, I actually honor commitments. I stacked the documents neatly on the counter with a note on top. You wanted a clean slate. Here it is. By 3 a.m. The condo was emptier than Patricia's threats. I loaded my last box into the truck, took one final look around, and smiled. For years, I'd believed in fairy tales. Turns out, real life is more fun when you write your own ending. I hit the road, windows down, the cool night air flooding in as my phone buzzed again. Another text from Patricia, this one practically vibrating with desperation. Nathan, this can be fixed. Don't do anything stupid. Call me now. Stupid? Oh, sweetheart. You haven't seen stupid yet. Because tomorrow morning, while Sam is choking on the ashes of her perfect life, Patricia's going to wake up to something that'll make her regret every smug word she ever spoke to me. See, Patricia had a reputation, a delicate, glittering reputation built on charity galas, country club gossip, and her image as the pillar of propriety. And well, I happened to have screenshots of her little text exchanges with a man named Marco. You know, the personal trainer she was mentoring? The one who called her my cougar queen in messages she forgot to delete from her iPad? Guess who's BCC'd on that email blast? Tomorrow wasn't just going to be messy. It was going to be art. Sunrises never looked so good. Not because I slept well. Honestly, I barely slept. But because I woke up knowing that today wasn't just a day. It was the day, the one where everything flipped. I checked my phone at 7 a.m. 47 unread messages. 7 voicemails. Patricia was on her 4th call me now in all caps. Sam had sent a string of apologies that looked like she was trying to communicate in Morse code. My personal favorite? Please, let's just talk. This isn't you. Oh, sweetheart, it's me. It's the me you never thought you'd meet. I brewed a strong cup of coffee, sat back in my hotel room, and watched the countdown on my phone. At exactly 10 a.m., the email blast went out like a digital grenade. Subject line: before you judge me, know who you married. Attached: screenshots of the bride tribe after dark chat. Photos from the Vegas trip, including the one where Sam is holding a bottle in one hand and a shirtless stranger in the other. A neat little MP3 of her laughing about locking down Nathan before he figures out he's too good for me. CC'd to bridesmaids, family, close friends, and, because poetic justice deserves an audience, her employer. BCC'd to Patricia's country club committee, complete with her spicy messages to Marco the trainer. My subject line for her thread? Leadership qualities in action. Then I locked my phone, leaned back, and waited for the world to burn. It didn't take long. At 10:06 a.m., the first explosion hit. Social media. Someone screenshotted the email and posted it on Facebook with the caption, "Y'all, this wedding just turned into a Netflix special." From there, it spread like wildfire. Instagram stories, TikToks, hashtags. By noon, hashtag BrideTribeGate was trending locally. Meanwhile, Patricia's pristine reputation was collapsing like a house of cards in a hurricane. My inbox pinged with replies. From Country Club President. Effective immediately, Patricia, your membership privileges are suspended pending review. From some random woman named Beverly. Always knew you were fake, Pat. Enjoy Marco. By lunchtime, Patricia's charity board announced an emergency meeting. Translation: she was cooked. And Sam? Her world was unraveling in real time. A mutual friend texted me a screenshot of her private Instagram story. Black screen. White text. Dramatic as hell. People can be so cruel. I made a mistake, but I didn't deserve this. Oh no, sweetheart. You didn't make a mistake. You made a series of conscious decisions. And now, the receipt printer is jammed with your name on every slip. At 2 p.m., my phone rang again. Patricia. Against my better judgment, I answered, because curiosity is a hell of a drug. Nathan. Her voice was a cocktail of rage and panic. What the hell have you done? Do you have any idea what this means for our family? Your family, I said, sipping my coffee. You mean the one that tried to blackmail me into marrying your daughter after she cheated on me? That was a misunderstanding. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my drink. Patricia, listen carefully. You threatened to bankrupt me. Now you're about to learn what bankruptcy feels like when it's your reputation, your influence, and every ounce of control you thought you had. We clear? You little. I cut in. Save the insults for Marco. He seems like the type who likes a feisty cougar. The line went dead. I'm guessing her phone hit the nearest wall. Now, you'd think that would be the peak, right? The mic drop? Wrong. Because here's the part nobody saw coming. While Patricia and Sam were busy damage controlling their social circles, I was finalizing a little surprise in the financial department. Remember the prenup? The one Patricia swore would protect Sam's precious assets? Turns out, that same document, drafted by her lawyer, left me with every cent I'd contributed to the condo, the wedding, and the joint account. Plus, thanks to my careful timing, I'd moved my funds 2 weeks ago. She gets the dress and a ruined reputation. I get my money, my truck, and, most importantly, my peace. By 5 p.m., I was sitting in a downtown office signing the paperwork. The lawyer looked up, eyebrows raised. You sure you don't want to pursue damages? This is an airtight case. Nah, I said, grinning. I'm not here for scraps. I already got what I wanted. But here's the twist you didn't see coming. I wasn't done yet. Because Patricia's biggest fear wasn't social scandal. It was financial embarrassment. And lucky for me, I knew where every skeleton in her account ledger was buried. Next stop, the country club gala. You know, the one Patricia was chairing this Friday. Let's just say, her speech is about to get interesting. You know that saying, revenge is a dish best served cold. They forgot to mention how delicious it tastes when you serve it under crystal chandeliers to an audience in formal wear. By Friday night, the country club was buzzing with anticipation. The annual gala, a glittering soiree where the elite preened for photos and wrote checks large enough to buy their conscience for another year, was Patricia's crowning jewel. This was her stage, her kingdom, her chance to remind everyone that she ruled the social hierarchy with a pearl-clad fist. Except tonight, her empire was about to collapse, publicly, spectacularly, and in high definition. I slipped into the event wearing a tailored navy suit, the kind that whispered money but didn't scream for attention. No invite needed. When you look confident and carry a laptop bag, nobody questions you. A waiter even handed me a glass of champagne on my way in. I toasted the irony. Patricia was easy to spot, center of the room, draped in emerald satin, smile stretched tight like a poorly tuned violin. You'd never guess she'd spent the last 3 days firefighting a PR inferno. That's the thing about women like Patricia. They'd rather drown in Chanel No. 5 than admit they're sinking. I kept to the edges, blending in with the donors and gossip vultures, waiting for my moment. On stage, a jazz band played something smooth, oblivious to the impending chaos. Behind them, the giant projector screen displayed a slideshow of smiling children, the beneficiaries of tonight's charity auction. Noble cause. Shame about what was coming next. At precisely 8:15, Patricia glided onto the stage to thunderous applause. "Thank you," she purred into the microphone, voice dripping with false grace. "Tonight, we come together not just as a community, but as a family committed to excellence, integrity." Oh, the irony nearly killed me. That was my cue. I walked briskly toward the AV booth at the back, flashing a forged tech support badge I'd printed that afternoon. The board intern guarding the equipment barely looked up as I plugged in my USB drive and queued up the presentation. Slide 1. A title card in elegant serif font. Integrity, a Patricia Whitmore story. Slide 2. A photo of Patricia beaming at last year's gala. Underneath, in bold white letters, "Every empire falls." The intern glanced at the screen, frowned. Is this part of scheduled update?" I said smoothly. "Patricia's request." And then, with one click, I unleashed hell. The slideshow began innocently enough. Photos of Patricia at charity events, sipping wine at luncheons. The room clapped politely. Then came the next slide. A screenshot. Patricia's text to Marco. "Can't wait for our private session tonight. Wear that blue shirt that makes you look dangerous." Winking face. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Patricia froze mid-sentence, her perfectly rehearsed speech dying on her lips. Next slide, Marco's reply. Anything for my cougar queen. The murmurs became gasps. Heads turned. Someone's champagne flute slipped and shattered on the marble floor. Oh, but wait. I muttered under my breath, clicking to the piece de resistance. A photo of Patricia and Marco, arms wrapped around each other, her lips dangerously close to his ear. Captured from her own iCloud backup. The room erupted. Guests whispered furiously, phones whipped out like pistols. Patricia lunged toward the AV booth, but by then, the final slide had hit the screen. Sponsored by Hypocrisy and Poor Life Choices. The projector flickered off. The band stopped mid-song. Silence, except for the delicious hum of Patricia's world imploding. She made it to the booth, eyes blazing. "Nathan," she hissed, grabbing my arm with talons disguised as French tips. "What have you done?" I smiled, calm as a priest at confession. "Kept my promise." Her voice dropped to a venomous whisper. "You think this destroys me? I'll bury you." "Oh, Patricia," I said softly, leaning close so only she could hear. "You already tried. Turns out, I dig better graves." And with that, I walked out, past the stunned guests, past the photographers capturing Patricia's meltdown, past Marco himself, who looked like a man reconsidering all his life choices. Outside, the night air tasted like victory. I loosened my tie, slid into my truck, and cranked the engine. My phone buzzed with notifications. News outlets picking up the story, TikTok edits of Patricia's downfall already going viral. Hashtags were multiplying like rabbits. Hashtag Galagate. Hashtag Cougar Queen. Hashtag Integrity My Ass. Sam called me one last time. I let it ring, then declined. Instead, I texted her 3 words. Check the news. I drove into the night, a free man with nothing but open road ahead and a future unshackled from lies. Did I lose a fiancé? Sure. But I gained something better, self-respect, a damn good story, and the unshakable truth that when you play games with someone who has nothing left to lose, you'd better pray he doesn't know how to win. And me? I didn't just win. I changed the rules.